Happy Monday, everybody. And it's really weird because I just heard Danielle's name outside of the studio. I was like, wait, are we starting? Are we stopping?
Everybody loves Danielle. I'm the Raymond of SJU. Everyone loves me.
It's Monday. It's President's Day. Full disclosure, it's not Monday right now. In fact, loyal SJ fans, you might be able to tell what day we even taped this in based on me and Danielle what we're wearing. So we'll just leave it at that. I have an awesome panel with me today. Mr. Ed Greer coming back, becoming a fan favorite. I love it.
That's great. I really like that.
Gang.
I just got to meet this fine gentleman, Ify Nwadiwe.
Hey, how's everybody doing? It's your boy coming to you at the 1 and 2, which is the same thing as the ones.
I hate you so
Good to meet you. Good to have you on the show, man. Thanks for coming by.
I love being here.
And of course, the lovely, the talented Danielle Radford.
I'm doing a show with all my favorite people.
This one's going to be a fun one today. So, of course, Black Panther, we can only speculate at this point, but I think it's safe to say probably broke a ton of records over this last weekend.
Definitely.
As of today, another clue as to when you can try to figure out when we tape this. As of today, I think they're projecting as high as like 160, 170.
Yeah, I think I saw 165.
Yeah, it's up there in terms of February. I think it's going to blow right past Deadpool's record for February.
He's pouncing on the box office.
He's pouncing like this might, I mean, even if it never defeated Deadpool, it probably would be the most successful cat-related movie of all time. I don't know about that, but I have seen headlines, and I don't know if you guys have seen headlines on some of these different shows or different articles, that it's the first black superhero movie erroneously, because today we're going to talk about kind of the evolution of black superheroes in movies and TV, because it's kind of been an interesting road to where we started and Black Panther.
There's been a lot of erroneous things surrounding, this film. I'm real excited to share, the word with people. Some erroneous people think they have to remind black people that Wakanda isn't real. Also Tatooine, not real.
Somebody out there got a lot of my money for a travel plan that
It probably was a Nigerian too.
Billy did try to honeymoon in Wakanda.
I mean, the prince was asking me directly, guys. I had to donate to him, all right?
Of Wakanda, the next in line, and I need to pass this money to you, please.
So looking back, I did a little bit of research, and we all did a little bit of research at this table, and going back, obviously Cyborg was a character that kind of first popped up on the Super Friends show. This was back, in the 80s during the time of Super Friends. But besides that, there really wasn't much, as far as I can tell. If the panel wants to correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, if I really want to be like semantic and pedantic,
please.
The pimp movies, those were technically superheroes like Superfly. What? No, those were superheroes.
Hey, I tried to get Shaft. Yeah. Shaft would chase white men down the street with a gun in his hand and not die. That was some super stuff. Yeah. All right. But
maybe I should have qualified this comic book superhero.
Okay.
But then something interesting happened around the 90s. Actually, you could even say kind of like the late 80s, mid 80s. We started to see black superheroes in a comedic sense. We got Robert Townsend's Meteor Man in 1993. There was Blank Man, and even going back to Richard Pryor, even though he wasn't a superhero, he was a big selling point of Superman 3. Why do you think it was kind of like a comedic take on it?
I think that was, they're like, oh yeah, well you can put him in if it's jokesties. Like, look, I don't want that dude going in my house saving my cat, but like if it's funny, maybe it's fine.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just because it is like, and I think even till this day, there's like a level of like how to make black people less threatening in film, and I feel like the idea of a black, superpowered individual so close to the civil rights movement is very scary for white moviegoers back in the day. It was like, oh man, lots of power to enact revenge, deservedly. And I think that's probably the move. But I think it is just like, it's so they're less threatening. So it's not like, oh, are they a hero or a villain?
Plus, it's like way easier to sell black folks in comedy. If you're gonna make someone a starring role, it's always been easier to be like, oh, well, it's a comedy, so of course Eddie Murphy is starring in it. Of course, he somehow gets to bang Robin Givens and also Halle Berry. Like, that's how, that's kind of just how it works. Like, it's easy for us to get in via comedy, and then we turn it around and we Jim Carrey that ass, and then all of a sudden it's like, now I'm doing drama.
And also to be fair, people in general, even white superheroes, besides Superman 1, everybody thought superherodom was a joke.
True story.
You know what I mean?
True story.
Until very recently. So it's like, we got black folks. Black folks are funny. But I looked it up. Athletic, funny. They were right next to each other in the book. I saw it. So like, yes, of course, we're going to be in comedic roles. But yeah, they weren't a bunch of super serious ass black superheroes either.
Especially when you're looking mid-90s where it's like, it's Batman. It's Joel Schumacher's Batman. And like those kind of mid-90s where it's like, oh, we're not going to do this like weird, your Art Deco. No, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I mock it, but they're my favorites, so I don't know why I'm...
No, I'm a Batman Forever apologist. And
all day, every day.
Will be.
All day, all long.
Now, yeah, you're right. And it's interesting that you say Batman specifically because in 1997, they did try to do Steel with Shaquille O'Neal, which was coming out of the death of Superman kind of story. There was 4 Supermen. They didn't really do that with Steel. They kind of went an Iron Man way with it, and it was bad.
Well, I mean,
why is he carrying a bat? It's fine. It's fine.
It's wish fulfillment.
I mean, first of all, the entire suit is just like as much comfortable, like soft foam as they can get.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, we have like one marginalized voice. Let's just cram as many others in there are there. It's like, it wasn't his love interest. She was like a very beautiful disabled woman, which is awesome and great. But it's like, why couldn't any of those characters have their own movies? Why is it one of those things where it's like we're gonna shove them all into one movie because ain't none of y'all gonna see it, and we can say that we did some good? It's like no, all of these characters could have had like their own like better movie.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the Wheels from the BK Kids to get his movie. That he was my favorite.
Oh man,
yeah, I'm still waiting on. I'm still waiting on that Barbara Gordon. Like,
well, if I had one of Kazam's wishes, I would have wished this movie away.
Why did we try to make Shaq a movie star in the 90s?
I have said this before. We let Shaq do anything in the 90s.
But we
let him rap.
He wasn't in Space Jam. That was like the one place he would have fit in.
Well, because
and we didn't put him in there.
We already had Michael Jordan's horrible acting. We were like, we can't risk another horrible actor. Not to mention, like with all the basketball player scenes were probably some of the worst acting ever.
Yeah.
And Charles Barkley never got his powers back, so that's another controversy.
He just never touched the ball.
Yeah, he never got his powers back because you saw how his career went after Space Jam.
Yeah, he lost in the finals and then it just went downhill.
Yeah. And also, look, only one person gets to use a movie to pay off their gambling debt. We decided it was going to be MJ.
Okay, so we had a rough go of things at the beginning. Steel is maybe not the best example. But then we got the movie that kind of not only broke the mold for comic book movies and took them seriously, it broke the mold in terms of a leading black superhero.
Oh, yeah.
And also, to my knowledge, so far, really the only crossover of comic book and horror that has been successfully done, which is 1998's Blade with Wesley Snipes. Why was Blade... Was it just the right place, right time?
I think it was a combination of two things. I think it's a combination of Wesley Snipes was on fire at the time. He has yet to go on his vacation to Africa. He is the hottest, coolest action. He is like, I think for any movie, the top choice for a black lead. And then I think the other combination is Blade is an unconventional hero. He's not wearing a suit. He gets to wear the cool leather and sunglasses. Mm-hmm. So, and it's so close to like when Matrix came out. So leather sunglasses was in. So I think it was so much easier for mainstream audiences to digest this superhero. And I think, it was more, I think people who didn't know of Blade leaned more on like, oh, this is like a horror action movie, not knowing it was a superhero movie.
Yeah, and also Blade was so cool that, like, when's the last time a dude was like, yeah, go ahead and just shave back my hairline. I'm Wesley Snipes, I'm Blade, I'm cool enough that I will recover.
Yeah.
Arguably, he didn't though. That's the funny part. I think he had a lot of confidence that it would come back, and it's like now you see him.
Yeah.
Gotta pay your taxes, guys.
Yeah,
It causes hair loss if you don't pay your taxes.
Blade
Get an accountant.
is interesting too because I feel like each movie kind of feels different from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, love it or hate it, and most hate it, Trinity. It still feels like it's a different Blade movie. The second one is very much a Guillermo del Toro movie.
Yes.
I think he has never gotten over the opening of a jaw type of creature because I've seen it in every movie he's done since then. But yeah, Blade, I really enjoy Blade just because, it doesn't feel like a superhero movie per se. It's kind of like an action movie.
Well, the one thing that's really great, in my personal opinion, about Blade 2 was it was the first time I had, and I maintained, challenge me on this, the first time I've ever seen a satisfactory two super dudes fight on screen ever. And especially in the modern age, because when you looked at all the other movies, obviously Superman would lift a helicopter, and it would be obviously on a freaking crane or whatever. I'm talking about you weigh 265 pounds, I weigh 265 pounds. We can both lift 15 tons. How would we fight? Do you fly way over here? Can I do a people's elbow on your ass from a football field away?
Yeah,
Oh man, this is also another wrestling panel. How do we keep doing this?
You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, when you really break it down, you saw super people fight. You saw kung fu movies before that, obviously. But I'm talking about two superpowered beings
Just
having a fight that
going at it.
registers as superpowered. 1990, whatever's Blade 2. That was the first one.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
were doing
really
some,
was.
He was doing some straight up like
Yeah, they were doing. They were selling moves on each other.
Yeah.
Really great. It was wonderful.
everyone was putting over Wesley.
Yeah.
Oh my heart. Oh,
So we
keep going. Keep going.
we definitely had Blade, and here's another one that I truly don't know.
Are we not going to talk about Onyx's TV show?
We're definitely
Sticky
going over
Fingers?
Sticky Fingers TV show because
Are we
it
not gonna-
exists, but
Slam! Are we not going to?
it kind of came. It mysteriously left as mysteriously as it came. It was just kind of it came and went, and
we could talk about it and sum it up as this: he ain't Wesley.
yeah, you
That's
gotta
what
be-
black people en masse, audience members en masse said. He ain't Wesley. Turn.
I wonder if Wesley looks at that TV show at any time they're like, we're gonna reboot Blade. He's like, guys, just so you know, I'm available. Here's a copy of Blade the series.
Well, no one's ever going to make the mistake of casting Sticky Fingers again. Like, it's not, this isn't like, look, in the 90s, we were putting those Onyx dudes in everything. One of them was in Moesha.
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing that
killing it.
anymore.
Retro
Moesha. That's
star.
the point that he was killing it. I think that 90s was like peak rappers get acting jobs easy. They gave Little Romeo a show. They gave
They did give Little Romeo a
like
show.
it was just like Little Bow Wow. He was in Tokyo Drift. That's more into the 2000s, but it was like a good decade of putting rappers into movies, and some stick, some didn't. Like Ludacris killed it in Fast and Furious, still killing it. And then Ja Rule and Romeo Must Die, not that great.
Well, also the other guy that came out around that time, the Spawn people.
Yes.
That was one of the best putovers ever. As far as Todd McFarlane, I saw a bunch of interviews with him, and the bottom line was he liked his buddy Al. His buddy Al was black. He wanted to put his buddy Al in a comic book. He figured out how to sell the black book to everybody, and nobody really registered as a black character because he wore a mask all the time. Even though they saw his black ass family and his kid.
His black ass best friend.
And his black ass best friend, they were just like, but he's just Spawn. And that was masterful.
No,
that was a pill.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that I don't know where people fall on the Spawn fence. It's some people really liked it. Some people think it was
I
awful,
loved
terrible. But I kind of like guilty pleasure like Spawn.
Yeah. Spawn is very much of its time.
Yeah, because
The HBO series was legit good, though.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
no HBO
Yeah.
series. I remember I turned it on, and then I was like, "Man, they showing boobs in this," and I was like, "Yep, yeah, boy." I got a VHS somewhere of all that, Witch Hunter Robin, and some Skinemax.
Is it just a boob edit, or we'll get to that later.
That's after the show.
yeah. But
What are you doing?
SJU,
I'm jacking the
after dark.
Spawn. Yeah. Hellfire.
But no, seriously, Spawn I thought was a seriously cool hero, and then it was Michael Jai White, which he really killed the role. I feel like I think it's like you said, where it's like of its time. So I feel like if you were of the Spawn time, you're like, yeah, it was great, and if you weren't, you're just like,
Well, it's like talking to a kid of a certain age that was like 13 when Extreme,
Yeah.
all the Rob
Yeah.
Liefeld stuff came out. It's like, Murat Michaels is the best penciler.
Yeah.
So is Dan Fraga. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, for that period of time, Rob Liefeld was putting all the no-drawn feet homies on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So it's that was a particular product of a particular time. So
Yeah.
you're right about that.
So I want to skip ahead a little bit here. So in film, we started to see stuff with Blade. We started to see it a little bit with Spawn. But on TV at the time, cartoons were kind of ahead of the curve.
Oh, yeah.
We had, not only did we have like Bishop and Storm from the X-Men animated series, but also Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, they decided to, there's a lot of different Green Lanterns. And for Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, they decided to go with Jon Stewart for a different, he's got a different kind of mentality as far as how he uses his power. He used to be an engineer.
I want to freeze on this real quick because I want to say this because I can't deny it, but everyone's going to be mad because this can't happen. That looked like Michael B. Jordan right now. Like that we can get Michael B. Jordan, Jon Stewart. You can't have him. He's with Marvel now.
Look, I will cast Michael B. Jordan as everything. Oh yeah, and I have.
I don't know. You can get Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White and also an Ant-Man. So
Yeah.
there's gotta
Yeah,
be,
and yep, you know what? And you can get what's his name as Cable, and then also Purple Ass Thanos. So
Yeah, Brolin. Yeah.
I feel like that's
Before
still
the-
like
yeah.
surfing the universe. So they're like, okay, since Marvel and Fox are trying to like work something out. I don't know why I did the kiss.
now kiss.
Like they're trying to get it going.
You're like a frat dude at the end of the night with two chicks. Like, hey, just do it. Go.
Go, come on.
But I do think that, like, with Storm and Bishop, I feel like a lot of people, myself included, their X-Men knowledge mostly came from the cartoon. I didn't read the comics as much as I watched that show every day.
Oh, yeah.
And Storm was a focal part of that team.
That show brought me into comics. Like, that show was what did it for me. Power of wind. Blow these men away. I am sad and weird or whatever. Thunderbolt. Hit these dudes right up in the face. That brought me into the comics.
Well, that was
Or into
such a
comics,
cool
period.
era of TV where like you were able to get. I feel like the shows were carbon copies of the comics. There wasn't, much leeway. We're like, we're going to switch everything up. So like a lot of people's early comic book knowledge comes from the X-Men show and the Amazing Spider-Man, which went through like huge arcs within the comic books on screen. So like it was cool, like because it was an actual substitute at the time. I feel like now like there's this desire that like it has to be more kiddie. Like I feel like a lot of the superhero shows like and this isn't a diss because like the generation likes it, but like Teen Titan Go and like the like Spider-Man and Friends or the Avengers and Friends, like it's like kidified but I was like, no, we were getting these deep storylines as children in the 90s, like some like straight up like Jubilee being ripped from her family because like the Sentinels were going to kill them if not. Like,
We continue to underestimate children. In regards to what they can handle.
Storm's crazy claustrophobia. That's how I learned what claustrophobia was because I was like, Storm don't like it.
Well, I also feel like Justice League, especially like those first couple seasons, they really tackled a lot of comic book arcs as well. I know it's like, what do you get for the man who has everything? The Superman one. But it was interesting that, DC could have chosen to go with their legacy Green Lantern, which was Hal Jordan. And then, in the 90s, we had, Kyle, was it?
Kyle Rayner.
Kyle Rayner. But they went.
He's an artist. He likes art.
Yeah. I never got into Kyle.
I'm going to make a mech. I'm Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, he was the first to get in a big get away from her, you bitch suit.
Hal Jordan was just like, I have fists. I'll make a bigger one.
Yeah.
But I definitely loved kind of the interplay between Hawkgirl and Green Lantern on that series. I really liked that character. I liked that iteration because I didn't really know Jon Stewart as a Green Lantern before the cartoon series.
No, I agree. I didn't know him very well either. And I know that he had been a person that was in a comic book, but he was never really, they didn't, obviously they talked about Hal because Hal went through all of his, like, was it parallax and like all of that stuff. Oh no, my city's gone. Or like whatever. Yeah.
And also one thing I liked about Jon Stewart was how, and I don't want to get serious, But it was interesting to me that they let him bang Hawk Girl and Vixen. So he had a sort of alien white-ish girlfriend and a black girlfriend. Like, you know, they normally give the black guy the black girlfriend. And they're like, you guys team up, hold hands. You're the blacks. You know what I mean? And they just had him have a full life as much as you could in a cartoon.
Right.
They even had a love triangle. You know what I mean? And that was really interesting that they did that much with that character.
Yeah,
I appreciated
get it, Jon
that.
Stewart.
Yeah, I appreciated that very much.
So while that was happening on the small screen, this is where I feel, you know, Blade kind of opened the door a little bit for superhero movies, and then X-Men just kicked it wide open.
Yeah.
There we saw Halle Berry taking center stage, and as the X-Men movies went on, whether or not you like them, it's irrelevant, but I feel like they kept making Storm even more of an integral part of the team as they kept going. And of course, there she is from X-Men Apocalypse. Obviously, she's going to be probably a big part in Dark Phoenix when that comes out in November-ish, right? November? Is that when that comes out? Does anyone know when that one comes out?
No one knows. Ain't been no trailers. I don't trust it.
They're going to drop it on Netflix at midnight.
Yeah.
Hey guys, remember how much you like Sansa?
So we had Storm, and then this was a movie that this might be my most disappointing movie in terms of, like, I was so into it, and then it took the weirdest left turn, which was Hancock.
Now, see, I liked it because I went in knowing nothing about Hancock, and the mythology actually wound up being pretty fun. It was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
I always liked that premise of a dickhead superhero who doesn't save because he really wants to. He just does it because that's what he does, and there's a firm behind him. I guess the mythology turned me off. I was like, oh, I kind of liked the story you were already telling. You know?
Now see, and I think maybe it's because by that point I'd already read Powers, which, spoiler alert for Powers, it's kind of like their deal too, where everyone in all of the powers in the show, they all kind of date back to this huge, weird, almost godlike mythology. So when they did the same thing in Hancock, I was like, oh, tight. Powers.
Well, I mean, you know what?
With Charlize Theron for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, people have heard this screed before, but the Screen Junkies haven't. So here it goes.
It's new to us.
Hancock sucks. I hate it. I hate it. From stem to stern, head to follicles to toes. I hate this idea. I hate it. He's the most powerful black superhero that's still ever been on screen.
Right, yeah.
And he's a super alcoholic. He's homeless. And his greatest weakness was literally a white woman. When Charlize Theron came on the screen, he couldn't even fly no more. Okay? That was disgusting. And then they revealed that Hancock had been super in 1920. In 1920, he was super. And the civil rights movement didn't start till the 60s? What was you doing, Hancock? If I was Hancock, the civil rights movement would have been an afternoon. I would have had that handled by 3. There'd be a tank hanging out of the roof of the White House with a note on it talking about things will be different. Signed, Hancock. The fact that they didn't even broach that is disgusting. I'm sorry. That's all I got to say about it.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, I don't even know how
So
to
that's
follow
the
that
hottest
up.
of takes. Yeah.
I don't know if you do. So that was 2008, Ed's least favorite movie.
I look so sad.
The fact that
moving
at
on.
one point that was the best we thought we could do is just disgusting. That's all I gotta say.
Well, then we got in 2008. As we're heading into Infinity War now, the focus has been on the last 10 years of the MCU. We always look back to Iron Man is where it all kicked off. But I think for me, where the MCU was born was the last minute and a half of Iron Man after the credits, where Nick Fury came out and he said, "This is all connected. You are one small part of this." And I feel like from there, the MCU, this is not a Marvel versus DC thing at all, so please don't turn into that. But I feel
It
like
will.
Don't at me,
it will. But I feel like they have led the charge in terms of really diversifying up their casts, starting with Nick Fury.
Well, and also Nick Fury. So Nick Fury is based on the Nick Fury that was in the Ultimates comic,
correct.
who was based on Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
It's like this weird, full circle of Samuel L.
Well, that's what's funny is the Ultimates universe was just fan casting of just all the heroes. Like,
Right.
if you look at the early Ultimates, you could tell oh, that looks like that actor. It was just like fucking Taken. Like when you would read Taken and you're like, oh, this is The Boys, where you're like, that's Simon Pegg.
Or the original Wanted, where it was like the lead character was Eminem.
Eminem, yeah.
Eminem.
No.
And Eminem begging Holly Berry for some reason. Read the original Wanted. It is completely different. There is no curved bullets. It's actually it's another interesting deconstructionalist, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, read it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. There is no Taken comic. Sorry if people are searching like, what? Taken's based off of a comic? But people are most likely like, if he's an idiot.
Well, we've got some heavy hitters in the MCU. You have Sam Jackson, you have Don Cheadle, you have Idris Elba, now you have Tessa Thompson, you have Anthony Mackie.
We're just gonna forget about Terrence Howard, man.
I tried to.
Come on, man.
What's been interesting?
He has his own math. I'm not
so
doing this with you, Ed.
mischievous.
He has his own math, and he makes statues of it. I love him. I love Empire, but
Come on, man. They fired me, man. I went afoul of Robert Downey Jr. and they fired me, man.
Went to foul.
No, okay, go ahead.
No, I was just talking about I just got this tinge of nostalgia when you mentioned Iron Man 1. Like that was to see where we are now, to see as early as Iron Man 1 where we were like, wow, this was a cool comic book movie. Wait, they're going to do more of these? How is this going to work? And now it's like this thing where it's an accomplishment, I feel like, as an actor to be included in the MCU. Just that class photo they took and seeing how hyped Tessa Thompson is and the actors they're choosing are really taking ownership. And it really goes to show you how we've grown from superhero movies being this whatever concept where we have guys who haven't even read Batman, but because they did Nightmare Before Christmas, they're able to do a Batman movie versus it's no, this is serious. This is you're a part of an esteemed cast if you get to be a part of this world and you're proud of it and you take ownership and it's really cool to see that, and I think that is why, and don't at me, because that is the current difference between MCU and DCU, is I feel like no one is really still taking it serious. I think, the only one that took it seriously and, people might disagree is Zack Snyder. I feel like as much as say what you will about his style and all this, I feel like there was a passion, I'm trying to create something. But you got Ben Affleck, being yeah, nah, I'm out. There's people just hopping in and out of scripts, whereas you need that same passion. And maybe it is scorch the earth, get young actors who's this is important to them. And
I need this check.
Yeah. And it's
pay off my student loans.
Yeah.
Yale ain't cheap.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I actually thought the one thing in Justice League that I was most interested in that we got the least of was Cyborg.
Yeah.
Because he has such a cool, he was the one that was rightfully conflicted in this whole thing. He doesn't know what he is.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
How come he didn't wear multiple hoodies to hide that glow in the dark stuff in his chest? They just wear multiple hoodies. That would make your glow. This motherfucker, he's like Bruce Leroy. You got that glow.
You feel you got that glow. That's also a black superhero, I guess we didn't talk about, with my boy Bruce Leroy.
Bruce Leroy.
You can't at me about that on Twitter. Y'all know
Bruce Leroy.
Last Dragon's my favorite movie. I will talk about it all day.
Oh, dude, we should. Yeah, we'll talk after this.
This sounds like we're creating another video in the process.
Yeah.
That's usually how it works, by the way.
Last Dragon, we're going to talk about that.
So while this is happening, while the MCU and Cyborg, I guess, is really the only one from the Justice League.
Which there are so many heroes, we kind of didn't have really time to talk about the TV show, but Static Shock.
Right.
Now we're getting Black Lightning, and it's so funny because I feel like we're running into the bump in the road of because apparently they were working on Static Shock, then Black Lightning came and it was we can't work on both of them. And it was because
can't be two dudes with lightning.
Yeah. Because then you have to point out why are there so many black people working? Damn.
Stop myself.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up Black Lightning, because while DC may not have a ton of representation in Justice League or in their DCU on TV,
they got the crown.
They both of them actually are doing really well. First of all, you have Luke Cage on Netflix, which
chocolatey.
That was
I don't care.
Yeah, was that a spit take?
I believe he showed up in Jessica Jones first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have Luke Cage kind of in the Netflix one. When we were doing TV fights, anytime that we did a blind question, one person would always answer, pick a character, Luke Cage. because Luke
Yeah.
Cage was almost the right answer.
Oh God,
to
I think I
whatever
picked him
scenario we
twice,
threw out.
probably.
Yeah.
Look at that. Hey.
But really, CW and their shows is where we're getting not just a lot of diversity, but also just a lot of diverse characters in terms of their back catalog. I mean, who would have thought we would have seen
shows are so
Mr.
good.
Terrific in Arrow? Like, who outside of a select few even knew who Mr. Terrific
I
was?
know, like,
Fair
I
play,
was,
my
like,
dude.
that's my man right there. That's my boy Echo. I like it was so wild because when he got it, I cussed him out because I was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And apparently he tried to tell me, but I was it was like when we were in New York for a fest and I got drunk. But like,
Yo, man, I'm Mr. Terrific.
like-
yeah, you fantastic, dog. Yeah, you great. Whatever, man.
I'm Mr. Awesome. Great.
yeah, but the point I was trying to make is like if he would have told me Mr. Terrific, I would have been like, "Nah, you ain't Mr. Terrific."
Ain't nobody
got you.
Mr. Terrific.
They gonna make a Mr. Terrific show. But like just to kind of like go full circle with the point I make about like DC killing the TV game. Everybody on those shows passionate about it. Like everyone, like you go on their Twitters, they're talking about it. They're talking about other shows. They're hanging out backstage with the other shows.
White Canary stay hanging out with all the other
Oh yeah,
women. Just
yeah.
she is also bae.
So like that's just really just I wanted to point that out just so in case DC are like you a Marvel guy and all this, like no, I'm just like looking at the formula because I like trying to see what's working and what helps, and just as a creator, like what is doing it, and it is the passion for the projects, and you can't get these people to not talk about their shows. When has Henry Cavill tweeted about being Superman? When has Ben Affleck tweeted about anything besides mansplaining something to a woman? You know, like this is like we need that excitement in the DC cinematic universe, and then you're gonna be surprised how much it just carries over to the film.
And just one last point about the DCU. To me, partially, I do agree with you a lot. I believe that Zack Snyder is passionate, but I believe he's passionate in the same way that Christopher Nolan is passionate in that, okay, they got this stupid jerk swinging around on a boat. I'm going to make this tight. You know what I mean? And that's not the attitude. The attitude isn't, I'm going to make this tight.
Why did you go into your do what you like voice? Zack Snyder just said, just grab a window biscuit.
You got a Humpty Hump nose on while he's directing. He's like, don't look at my Humpty Hump nose. Just look at the green screen and shut the. Anyway, so what I'm saying is,
Black History Month, guys.
the people in the Marvel universe seem to go, okay, the Falcon is cool when he's flying and if he has guns in his hands. If he's not that, it's not cool. So every time you see him, he's flying with some guns in his hands. You know what I mean? They figure out the cool part and they do it. They're like hip hop. They take the good part of the record and they play it over and over and over.
Yeah.
Whereas DC seems to be like, I like that record, but let's do it all over again with bassoons and harps. You know, whatever song. They decide to do it their own way and mess it all up. And I feel like if they just concentrate on what's cool about the characters and play that record over and over, like Marvel seems to be doing, they'd be in a better place.
Well, it seems like they're doing that with their TV shows.
I agree. Like
a lot.
I am a huge fangirl of the DCCW TV shows. Except I don't like how nerfed Jimmy got. Jimmy on obviously
Jimmy Olsen, who's also the Guardian.
Yes, Jimmy
on
Olsen, who is
Supergirl.
also the Guardian, who is also, if you guys haven't watched it, they made Jimmy Olsen black. You'll be okay. And you'll be fine. And he's in Supergirl. I won't spoil it too much because I want you guys to watch it, but he had a much bigger role when they were on ABC, and then when they moved to the CW, his role got nerfed, and that kind of makes me a little sad. I will say, man, those CW-DC shows are very much like, yeah, man, interracial couples, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like
They're into it.
They also made Iris West blackity black. You'll be fine. You didn't know who she was before I said it, so you can go Google it, but you'll be fine. And they've made a lot of they've made efforts to take characters and be like, y'all can pretend like you liked him. We know you don't care, so we're gonna take that opportunity to not only elevate this character, but also to make it so that our casts are more representative of what the world looks like, and that's pretty tight. That's not the only reason why I like the DC EU. I also like them because they clearly all follow the Buffy model, and I love Buffy.
They're also just like, I know like sometimes I think CW shows are kind of cheesy, but there's some really great acting. I think
Right?
Wally West, Kid Flash from, I know a lot of people were up in the air on season 3, but I feel like he really got to show what he was made of in season 3.
And he's going to be moving over to, again, I mean, this isn't really a spoiler. Like, you can find it in the trades. He's going to be moving over to Legends, which I'm super excited about. I really liked his conch during Crisis on Earth X. I thought that was fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, was that to represent he was from an evil dimension or something? Because I skipped the
Nah,
around.
dude, he's got a flat iron.
Okay, because like
he just
like,
got a flat iron.
I don't know, man. Wally West with the flock of seagulls situation. I was just like, no, I don't like this. You look like an emo kid in a band. I don't like
He
this.
got that Justin Timberlake.
Yeah,
he was like, take me seriously. I'm gonna put on a suit and I'm gonna straighten my hair.
Yeah, dude, unless he's running back in time to play James Brown, just get your get it back. Get the Ify going again.
Well, that leads us all the way to Black Panther, who made his debut in a different movie, which was Captain America Civil War. Now we get to expand upon where he's from in Wakanda in Black Panther. As of right now, I believe you're the only one at this table who's actually seen it.
I have, and I will not spoil these, but one parallel I will make between Black Lightning and Black Panther is that neither movie hides the fact that it's black. Okay, bye. That's it. I'm not going to do any more because I'm sure that like screenings are sold out. Not everyone's going to see it before. Y'all ain't seen it, and I love you. But that is one of my major takeaways from that is that like both of like the Black Lightning TV show and the Black Panther the movie are both very much like, yo, black's in the title. What we running from?
Right. Oh, and one thing I got to say about this, one of the main reasons why people started this weird narrative about they try to forget Blade and forget everybody before Black Panther and say they was the first black superhero, I believe part of that was, if you really look at it, this is by far the blackest superhero situation ever. The director is black. I think at least one of the writers is black.
Yeah, I think they're both.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've had black people on TV forever. All the writers on Sanford and Son were Jewish. Holla. Okay, so there's a lot
Was that
of
unintentional?
No, holla bread. No, but there's
My Oma's just shaking her head right now like Shotzi.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, there's always been somebody around. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee made up the character. There's always been some good-meaning white person around to make up the character, to dress it up and put some black on it, and say,
because that was
this
the only
is
way
your
that you could get it done.
Exactly.
We weren't working in those.
Yeah, exactly. So now that we are sort of celebrating the fact that in front of as well as behind the camera there are black people, that should be the part where they're talking about firsts.
Yeah.
Just talk about that part, because that part's so much more important than the character.
Yeah.
The fact that Ryan Coogler at 31 is directing a $175 million tentpole action movie with an all-black cast is amazing.
Yes.
So I mean, people should get behind that and be okay with it, because one thing I had to say about changing Jimmy Olsen to black and different stuff like that, the reason why people are mad about stuff like that is they feel as though they're being replaced. And I just want to say to all the Screen Junkies, nobody's trying to replace you. Nobody's trying to replace you.
Nope.
We would like to have a future where more of the original characters that are made by people who consider diversity when they're creating the characters. And maybe going forward, there'll be more organic black characters. We won't have to jack your tertiary characters and make them black. You know what I mean? But for now, just let us have that part, and don't be a weenie about it.
Yeah, I feel like it's just the thing where it's like, it's like in the future, in a perfect world, there will be less of this. But right now, we're in a rebuilding phase and trying to make it more inclusive.
And all the people that you still love and the ways that you still love them, those still exist. Like, you can still go back and watch the best movie of all time, Supergirl, and see a white Jimmy Olsen if you would like to.
Yeah,
it
Jim
is the best
Sterank.
movie of all time.
Dude, yeah.
You should White Stars. Helen Slater. Fight me, at me. Supergirl is awesome. It is the tits. Fight me.
So someone's like with a notepad, like, okay, at them about this. Don't ask them about
it
this.
just says a big at, and it's like boom, 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 a bunch of names.
Well, I mean, there are some great upcoming things, and I think to speak to that notion of like, you're not being replaced, I think a perfect example of that is Miles Morales as Spider-Man in the upcoming Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's an animated movie based on kind of the Spider-Man comic book reign, and it was expressly about Miles Morales as this new Spider-Man. Very, very great run by Bendis. If you haven't read
the
it.
Ultimate Spider-Man was fun, and which again,
right,
it takes
meeting
place in like a
Peter
pocket
Parker.
universe.
And he gets to meet Peter Parker, which we're going to see in the movie. So it's like there can be more than one Spider-Man. There are multiple. There's a whole.
Yeah, this is not like a
universe.
Highlander kind of situation. Like there can be more. Than
Although the 90s were the blackening. Yeah, the 90s were the blackening. I wanted to say that earlier. Now it came all the way back with the Highlander. Thank you.
We also have Domino coming up in Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
The Rock is going to be Black Adam in the
Hello.
upcoming Shazam.
Boom.
And then
Yeah,
Cloak-and-Dagger, that's another Marvel one that you just never thought would actually make it to the screen.
Yeah.
But Cloak-and-Dagger is going to be
Yeah.
a series on Freeform.
Who was ever thinking we were going to get Cloak and Dagger?
Nobody.
I definitely was
that,
going
you're
to
a
bet
liar.
on Mr. Terrific before I would have ever bet on Cloak and Dagger. And someone saw Runaway, someone was like, oh, they in this, right? They're in one issue.
So, I mean, looking back, I mean, we started with Blank Man and we ended with Black Panther. I'd say we're kind of living in a golden age of just diverse, but also just a golden age of like just superhero movies in general.
Right.
You know, there aren't. I mean, there are some not great ones, but
Well, there's
so many
more
great
than
ones.
enough to go
Right.
around.
Yeah.
Is the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's more than enough to go around for everybody. And like, I saw a group of black kids looking at the Black Panther. It was a post that went viral. A group of black kids were looking at the Black Panther poster. They were going, "This is what white people feel like every day."
Yeah.
They looked at the poster, all these black names and like a couple token white people, and all these black names and the people who produced it and made it, and they were just overjoyed with the fact that like, oh, this must be what you feel every day. So that's all I got to say is to everybody, just come on, man, let us feel what you feel every day, and don't be a dick about it.
Well, the great
God!
thing too about Black Panther is, you know, you were saying like it's not afraid to be black, but it also, because of the nature of Marvel, it doesn't live on this island by itself. Like,
Nope.
here's your black movie, go away.
Right.
They're
It's not the
integral-
belly of the Marvel universe.
It's
It's
like,
not Baby Boy.
clearly from the trailer, just the trailer of Infinity War, like Wakanda is an integral part of the story. Like this is the new future moving forward, and I'm like so jazzed to see this movie tonight because the reviews are great. I got to see a little snippet at Comic-Con, and I thought it looked amazing. So
Well, that's one
I'm
thing we
pumped.
did gloss over is the put over of Black Panther in Civil War was amazeballs. Like
Oh,
he was,
definitely.
Oh,
he
they
was
put him
doing it.
over.
They put him over like a
yeah.
suplex.
Oh, you like cars? You like dudes on cars?
Yeah. You like dudes that run as fast as cars. You know what I mean? That was great. That was what we're talking about. Integrating it without trying to say that, you know what I mean? Like without it coming out of left field. They were in Africa. He was going to be involved. You know what I mean? They worked it out organically, and that's what all we're asking for as black people, I think, is to be worked into you guys' reindeer games organically.
Not the one with Ben Affleck.
No, not
Not
that.
actual reindeer games. Stay
Christmas
far.
one.
Everyone should stay far away from reindeer games, guys. This was an awesome SJU episode. Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you.
Ify, thank you for coming by.
no
Please
problem.
come by some
Yeah.
more often because we love having you here. And Danielle, we love you so much.
Hey, guys.
Hope you guys had a great President's Day. And if you work retail, sorry, it's just another Monday. See you guys tomorrow.